on checking out initial coin offerings. And I'm just mentioned here that people always talk all these terms, ITOs, now token generation event and token sale and ICO. But generally, lawyers, everybody, it's the same. Some people can find some nuances there, but it is the same thing that is all the time talked about. They are ICOs, but in America you cannot use those words because SEC follows anything that has that initial offering, and they consider that to be, in a way or another, under the their regulations, or easily be under that. So then, what we have done this year is that we have done 20 ICOs or so, and those companies have raised 200 million. Like they include Storage, Monaco, Civic, Mysterium, and companies like that. And currently those tokens trade. Then let's say half of them, or maybe 12 tokens trade now, and they trade about 700 million to 1 billion valuation. So Ethereum has gone up and all that, but it still looks pretty decent that they haven't lost the value, even though that many people have chance to flip it, and they've gotten a big discount on some pre-sales. We have 400,000 visitors on our website, and might be already now 80,000 people gets our emails on weekly basis. So that's a TokenMarket's like a rough numbers currently. And then I think we should have done maybe my presentation a little earlier, because I want to go a little bit back so that nobody misses anything on these on the point that ICO, it is after all crowdfunding, and it is special because of the capability of the people to invest on Ethereum and Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies, mainly Ethereum, because that's the only one that can be put straight to the smart contract. So if we accept Bitcoin and Ethereum and ICO, then we have to do a kind of manual reconciliation of money. We cannot put Bitcoin on smart contract and just take tokens out. But that has made it that now someone from Finland or New Zealand or from Gibraltar or Turkey can invest $30 on ICO without any extra costs. If you would use bank transfers or anything else, that would be the case, that it would be more expensive, and then you could not use PayPal or Visa card because it would be too much of a fraud honeypot, and then the cashback, or what is it called, where you can cancel the transaction afterwards. That would basically destroy the market. So cryptocurrency is the only way to, in our opinion, to make it work. And then the result is tradable tokens that are not equity or debt. So they are not securities. They are basically, someone would say, contractual rights. And then we can go to next one and see what is app token, because I don't think that has been talked yet on this conference. So in our world, we quickly put them, not being lawyers, but we quickly put them then on these 5 categories. So in-game currency is like on World of Warcraft, when you fight their monsters and stuff, and then you earn those guldens, and then you can spend them, or you can go to some Chinese dude who has been playing the game for a month and then buy. So that is and buy those tokens and buy the dragons and stuff that you want. That is an in-game currency. Then everybody knows what loyalty program is and how easily these like air miles and stuff like that could be turned into tokens. And then closed loop payment system is like when you go to amusement park and you buy these tickets at the door for the rides, and you need certain number of tickets for each ride. That's a closed loop payment system and works well as a token as well on virtual platforms. And then software license, of course, like someone like Spotify. If someone now would build a decentralized Spotify, that would use the tokens for software payment. And then the last one is the one that, for example, Ethereum used. So that was donation. So original Ethereum tokens then what was it, 2.5 years ago? When was it? Then those tokens were receipts for donation to Ethereum Foundation, which is, clever from Swiss lawyers. And then what is needed to do the ICO is that, Lykke already went through that, but it's we call it business model, token model, team, and then we now require also that there has to be initial funding. So no more of this, that this will be your first money, because otherwise you cannot do the marketing, you cannot hire lawyers and stuff like that. And so you really have to have all these, and then that business model includes, of course, the white paper, and then the token model, the numbers, everything has been thought out well. Team also includes then the advisors, and hopefully they are more than just the ICO advisors, which you now see way too often, that people list just someone famous there who actually does nothing for the company. So that hopefully moves away. Then now you ask, what does a token market do? And then we start from a strategic advisory. So we then talk with the founders and look at exactly these token models and business models and timing, that when should you do everything. And then we start to work on marketing, anything from PR distribution. We do social media marketing help, and then online advertising. We have plugged into all these websites with our, including Experian in UK, and we try to build as good of a tracking system for online advertising as we can. And then community management, including Slack, which is Slack and Telegram, but Slack now has to be kind of removed because it's not meant to be a public platform. But when ICO started to use it, there's a massive amount of scams happening on Slack. And then, of course, referral and bounty programs. And then we continue our services to now KYC and AML is now coming up, and it's going to be very important next year. Almost all the lawyers have changed now their mind from not needing KYC because it looks too much like a securities offering to that they want to have that KYC for anti-money laundering reasons. And then we create the smart contracts. We have now well-tested, that has been used, I think the same contract now for 15 ICOs. I think it's like about 3,000 lines of code, the big contract, and then 200 lines of code changes for each ICO. And then the buying widgets, all these like kind of a PayPal type of a buying process. Then the token creation, and so that it's sent to actual people who invested on a deal. So all that is what TokenMarket does. And then someone was asking on the previous about this whole timeline thing. So that is usually then, 3 months. Sometimes people rush it in 2 months, but 3 to 6 months. Some really good ones have been, 9 months in works. And it all starts from this initial planning stage, where you then talk with our team and on each separate, like marketing team, legal. We don't have we have one in-house lawyer. So we have 20 people working for TokenMarket, and in Gibraltar is being the headquarters. Then Finland has a tech team, marketing in Cambridge, and then business development in London. So then you get to basically talk to all of these groups and start to prepare for the announcement. An announcement is exactly that moment that when you go then on Bitcoin Talk and on your PR and everything, and you tell to the world that, hey, here comes our greatest ever ICO. And then from that one, depending on attraction and interest from the investors, can be sometimes immediate, sometimes a few weeks later, comes the pre-sale opens. So that's when then we basically have a first smart contract ready and kind of on a private sale. Large investors, normally $15,000 minimums, on some deals even $25,000 or $50,000 minimum investment level, and then they might have certain discounts and also certain lock-ins to invest on a pre-sale. And then once pre-sale starts to look good, then on we go with a public ICO, and that can take anything from like first bloods 4 minutes to Mysterium was maybe 50 minutes, and then some really good deals goes on full month, and in order to raise the money that they need. And then after that, it's once you close it, that's a tricky part there as well, because then you have, I think we have normally between 4,000 to 8,000 investors on each ICO, and then we have to give those people the tokens correctly, then including all the advisors, bounty programs, and any other commitments that the startup has done who needs to get tokens. So that's then a big project there in the end that kind of finishes the whole token sale from our side. And normally, between this, during the ICO time, when ICO is live, then the startup founders goes and negotiates that the token will be tradable on some of these exchanges. And there you go. You have a good ICO, maybe. Any questions so far? Yeah.
Hi. So I just had a quick question regarding the equity tokens. I know that we did not go over them today.
Yeah, exactly. They are like, what we're building next is, this is just the last slide, but it's not that. So we're building an exchange, and then we're coming up with a tokenized equity crowdfunding. But that's very tricky.
Exactly. So what I was going to ask was, I guess for an equity token offering, one of the prerequisites is going to be an ability of the equity holder to actually go to the company and make a claim, let's say at a court. So I guess the legal, just from an outside perspective, it looks like the legal angle and whether or not any government is going to accept the ownership of the token as the equity ownership is going to be a question. So I guess my question was going to be, has there been any instances where an equity token has been issued and then was able to make a claim on it successfully at the jurisdiction?
No, because that's too early. I think the only famous one that was kind of security or a portion on the fund was a blockchain capitals issuance, and I don't think that's trade. I think that's maybe, is it trading on one exchange, like one eddy, right? It's on one small exchange somewhere, but it's not really trading, because nobody has a regulatory framework to have it trading. But to your question, so here comes the whole challenge. We talked with a lot of lawyers about this part, and how to make us now bearer shares are illegal in UK, illegal in Gibraltar. Some countries still, like I think USA still allows bearer shares. So basically, shares that whoever holds it that's the only paper that is for the share ownership. So since that's illegal, you cannot call these digitalized bearer shares. But then, for example, in Finnish law, it doesn't, it says that how do you keep your stock registry or shareholder registry. It doesn't say there are any limitations why it couldn't be digital. So I think that currently we're looking mostly at the system where under $10,000 you can buy shares, but then in order to claim any rights for them, like voting rights or dividend rights or anything, you have to have done your KYC, or in some cases the KYC right from the beginning. But that is the easiest way, that you always, all these transactions that are required, or the dividend or dividend interest or voting rights, that they are linked to that you have to log into platform to confirm your ownership. We don't see any problems on issuing those. We just see the problem on trading those, because that is then securities trading, and global securities trading doesn't exist yet, so that it's investor direct. You have to now go, if you want to buy Tesla shares or something, you have to go to JP Morgan or your E-Trade account. You can go back on that previous one.
I have one question about this token distribution. What do you think is the most time-consuming effort until the token distribution and between after the ICO closing? Why it takes so much time? This is my first question.
Because thousands of people have invested. People have done mistakes. Like someone once sent us on one deal $100,000, and then on Bitcoin, and then there was an Ethereum address. He wrote his home address in Chicago, as we put the tokens on a box and send it over. And that was not just that was $100,000. So these mistakes, then when you start to have these, 20, 50 mistakes a day is a lot of work from our customer service people.
But the rest takes their token from the smart contract directly, right?
Yeah, because you cannot use exchange wallets and stuff because they cannot accept those tokens. So you have to have a my Ether wallet or some specific wallet. We have a list on our apps then that which ones work, and if everything is done right, boom, it is really just a click, just a push on a system, and everybody has their tokens. But it's just the human errors and misunderstandings, and then of course all these like advisory, bounty program, referral program. There can be like on some deals there's $1 million worth of bounty and referral money that is sent, and so that's a lot of manual effort.
Thank you. Second question is. Did you ever actually use KYC documentation, like when, for example, liquidating the Ether, the investor liquidating the Ether, and do they need to issue it to the bank in jurisdictions we have done ICOs?
Sorry, I didn't understand.
The KYC documentation, does the bank ask about it when you liquidate your Ether and...
as a startup?
As a startup, yes.
Oh, well, that's a whole other problem then, that startups don't get bank accounts. So... And now there has been too many, so there's like probably five OTC desks in a world that can handle this kind of, like, if you want to sell $500,000 or $1 million worth of Ethereum, there's only few guys who can handle that, and then they don't want to now anymore take ICO clients, because that's they have to do the whole compliance, everything to accept that million in. And then you never see that client again because they only had to do that once, or over 2 weeks period or whatever. So that's the one problem, is that these startups is hard to get a bank account. So we're working on in Gibraltar and other jurisdictions hard on getting this fixed. That basically every time someone has done an ICO with us, they have done it on such a compliance level that the bank has to say that, okay, if you give these same papers to us, you're good to have a bank account.
Have you ever needed to give KYC documentation to regulatory bodies yet?
No.
No, it's just in
no,
case.
But we inform every ICO. We inform in advance to regulators, even though that they have nothing to do with it yet, just as a courtesy thing, so that they know what's going on.
Thank you.
Yep.
Hello. I have a question about that timeline. When should we start generating our tokens if we plan to do an ICO? What is the optimal point, or what is the latest point?
Sorry?
To generate our tokens, to create the tokens.
Well, the tokens are, there's a couple of different ways. On some deals, we already on a pre-sale, as the investors invest, they already get their tokens. But we have put the lock-in on those tokens that they cannot be traded before the ICO is over, because we don't want to have a shadow trading that, some people get the pre-sale discount and then they would start to sell on somewhere those tokens already before when the ICO is still running.
Okay.
So we can do it either on a pre-sale mode and then they are locked until when everybody gets them freed at the same time, or then they are really issued at the end of the ICO. Okay. And then it takes us that issuance takes us just a couple of days to do the tokens, like, so that they go out. That's not a huge job. Then it's a reconciliation is the task.
Okay, and one more. What is the initial funding that we need? You mentioned that you will need an initial funding.
Yeah, you asked that previously. Exactly. Exactly. So there, it is a good question, but I'm going to now give a kind of a very varied answer. So in the US, if you use something like Perkins & Coie, which is a top-notch law firm there, they have partners all the time on the calls, and that's $1,000 an hour. So you can basically, as I understand, our American partners have spent on legal only in the US between $100,000 to $200,000. Then marketing, okay, on a civic case, Vinny was like a celebrity CEO and already had a successful exits. So then he didn't want us to do any marketing, but he just went to these, 5-10 conferences and made his speech and got that. There was $33 million deal and we got $45 million, so we had to refund. Because once again, people are so crazy. That was in May that we say there that you can only invest now $1,000 and people sent 100,000 just because they just wanted to get tokens so bad. And then we had to, Mikko was doing that, my co-founder was 2 weeks refunding people, crazy people for their money. But normally marketing, we support our clients' marketing a little bit, and we do all that, but I would say between 30,000 to 50,000 is probably right about there. Then some big deals, I know Chronobank spent over 100,000, probably closer to 200,000. They were, you remember in the springtime when Chronobank was going, it was everywhere. It was like too much. Because any website you go, you see Chronobank banners.
It is for pre-sale, right?
Sorry?
It is for pre-sale part.
Yeah, so this is marketing. So some legal stuff you can get sorry, let's go one more time the truth, because that's like everybody wants to know that, of course. So Gibraltar legal work, I would say between 15 to 30,000, dollars or pounds, but it's somewhere there. And then in America, it's definitely there over 50,000, but with a good law firm can be 100 to 200,000. That's a legal work, depending on where you do it. Switzerland costs, MME takes, I think, 10,000 francs minimum payment, and then about 25,000 average on setting up a company, and foundation is between 50 to 75,000. If anyone knows better, let me know, but I think that these are pretty correct numbers. And then the marketing, as said, that 30 to 50K on marketing. And and then you have to have a top-notch website and all that you need to do.
So in ballpark around 100,000 for a regular European ICO.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good. Then plus minus 50K, or you can spend, of course, as much as you want, but you don't need to.
Okay, last 2 questions, please.
I have a question.
Yeah.
There is a bill that is about to pass in Turkey enabling crowdfunding and such crowdfunding to be controlled by Security Exchange Commission of Turkey. Under these circumstances, do you think the tokenized equity crowdfunding could be the way to move forward for ICOs in Turkey?
It is, but they have probably not thought about it. So this is the same thing that now in UK, we have talked with regulators in the UK and in America about crowdfunding, because we see that it's basically tokenized equity crowdfunding is the next big thing for these companies who cannot have application tokens. And they both have said, the regulators have said that we haven't thought about this tokenization yet, but we love the idea because normal people can invest on deals, on these crowdfunding deals, and they can get sick, divorced, or unemployed. So it would be great to have a liquidity, any kind of liquidity on these crowdfunding investments. And that, so they welcome that, but in the same time, they haven't really figured out yet how to make whole this trading part and tokenization part safe. So I hope that now someone now goes, when they are preparing that, someone goes there and introduces them ICO so that they can start to already then plan 2.0 version of crowdfunding license in Turkey. That would be great. Then one more point to that one is that this is exactly what happened in Gibraltar, that there's now DLT license, distributed ledger technology license, that comes to force on the 1st of January 2018. But they planned it last year. And then we started to go to meet them in March, April, and show this ICO stuff is coming. And then they were, oh, interesting, but didn't do anything. And now they said to us that now there's already DLT 2.0 coming up next year that will then include ICOs. So ICOs will be one way or another regulated in Gibraltar, which is a good thing. It just makes it more safe to invest.
Just a follow-up question. You were talking about a $50,000 for the initial funding before starting everything. So how much?
Bare minimum.
Okay. How much TokenMarket will charge for all these services?
So yes. So good question. We don't take anything because we take everything from the percentage of the deal.
How much?
6 to 8%. So not crazy, and that's why we are very picky on our deals, because we don't take like many of these. I know that some companies take as much as $1 million guaranteed payment, and I heard one American company taking $400,000. But we have decided not to take anything in advance because we don't have to do it that way. And then we are not in a hook that we haven't taken someone's money for 3-4 months, 100,000, and then we realize that ICO is no good, and then we kind of forced to go through with the ICO process because entrepreneur is in a panic to do the ICO. So then we have a clause now in our agreements that we can stop the process if we feel that the company is not fitting and ready for ICO.
Well, I know that you have other questions, but we need to wrap it up.
Yeah,
Thank you very much, Ransu.
Thanks.
It was very enlightening. Thank you.